Today, I'm prepping for an unboxing of a new in-box VIC-20. This video isn't about this, but the peripherals that are going to be used with this. I didn't want to use one of my current 1541s with the VIC-20 because the era was different. The style is different. We have the beige that's more akin to the bread bin Commodore 64 rather than the white. I did find an earlier 1541 that is white, and we're going to unbox, clean, and test it in preparation to use with this computer. One quick note, you will see some products that I use personally to prep and clean my items. I will leave links below. Some may be affiliate links. Feel free to check them out. This is not a sponsored video. I purchased all of these products on my own. Let's see what's in the box. Interesting. Drive 9. I wonder if this is hard-coded as Drive 9. So we have a VIC 1541, as these drives were called initially. Looks fairly clean. Couple scratches, some dirt. Case looks intact. You can tell how it really yellowed though. You can see the whiter edge there around the faceplate. There's the rear. I'm going to start with using a vacuum to get in these grooves before I do my wet cleaning. That way the dirt won't turn into like a sloppy sludge there. Next, I'm going to use some compressed air. Next, I'm going to get the outside. If you've seen my other prep videos, you know that I like to use this Kaboom with OxyClean shower tub and tile bathroom cleaner. I've been using it for years on my retro devices. It won't retro bright, but it will get the dirt out. And always, if you're not sure, try it on an inconspicuous part of plastic before proceeding. I've cleaned 1541s before, not this particular color, so I don't think that it's going to do anything bad to this. But once again, always use caution. I am using gloves because this stuff is kind of rough on the skin. Just on a very light first pass, you can see quite a bit of the markings have been removed. To get in these grooves, I'm going to use a toothbrush. I also have this device, a sonic scrubber. It's basically a big electric toothbrush, really. And this will also help agitate some of the dirt that is more set in out. I'm not going to be too concerned about marks like this, as well as down here that isn't coming off with light pressure. We're going to use something else in a little bit. to get that out. Same thing with these scratches. They might not come out with the kaboom, but that's okay. So on the side here, you can really see where the drive faced sunlight in the front, whereas the sides were more protected. Fortunately, Commodore used these foil stickers. They're not paper, so I'm really not concerned about this stuff getting on it. If there was paper labels, I'd probably mask them off with some painter's tape and just worked around them. Now I can tell that the protective label for the nameplate is still on there. I'm going to leave it on there for now, but it is going to be removed. There's one small indent right here. That's not going to come out. That's actually a little gouge in the plastic. Next step is to get some of the darker spots that didn't come out with the kaboom. To do that, I've got some distilled water and a Mr. Clean magic eraser. Now, Mr. Clean Magic Eraser is slightly abrasive, so you don't want to use it on glossy surfaces, but textured plastic, like the exterior of this drive, is totally fine. You're not going to see a difference. If you use it on a glossy texture, you're going to see the swirls. So you can see all those markings are gone. This is our gouge up there. It's not going to do anything to that, but it will get in there and clean the bottom of the gouge where the OxyClean probably didn't get to. Now to the sides, just a few little faint marks that we can get out. This is probably the worst surface with those markings. It will not remove this yellowing. Don't even try. In order to revert that, you're going to have to do a full retro bright. And I never retro bright my stuff. Okay. One final thing. The groove between the top and bottom shell. I'm just going to take my toothbrush, go along, get any dust that might be back here out. Or bits of Mr. Clean Magic Eraser that got caught in there. Okay, outside is done. There's a small little mark there. I don't know if it'll come out. It looks like there's a little piece of plastic that's sticking out, maybe as part of the injection molding process. So that might be just discoloration around that. Well, it did lighten it up, but of course that little dot is going to remain. Our next step is to open it up clean the heads and getting any dirt that is in the interior cleaned out. We have 4 recessed Phillips head screws. Not a lot of dirt inside, which is good. I am going to vacuum it out though. I'm using a different tip in order to get down there. Next up, we're going to take the shield off to take a look ahead and clean it. I'm going to have to disconnect the LED right here. So the red wire is towards the back of the drive for later reference. Looks pretty clean. Don't see any damage. I believe this drive should be operational. Looking at the inside, it really doesn't look too bad. So I'm going to skip cleaning the heads unless there's a problem reading a disk, and then I'll come back to it. But I think we're going to be okay, actually. This drive looks really good. While we have the shell open, I did notice that there's a little bit of dirt along the top of the exterior of the actual door mechanism. So I'm just going to clean that off. I'm just going to use distilled water. Get our shield back on. I'm going to try to get this label off. Label protection tape on the drive. So this is going to look brand new now, at least the label part. Nice and shiny. So overall, pretty decent shape, assuming this drive was around back in 82 or so. About almost 45 years. Okay, we have the shell lined up. Putting it back upside down. And get our screws back in. There we go. Time to take it to the Ultimate, plug it in, and see if it works. And we'll actually find out if this is actually hard-coded to be drive 9, or somebody just put that Post-it on there. The VIC 1541 disk drive is plugged into the Ultimate. We've got our DeLorean here ready to take us back to the future. Going to turn on the machine. We'll see if it accepts that reset. There's the red light. Sounds good. It did stop, which is a good thing. Jiffy DOS is active. I'm just going to change configurations just to a basic one. And I am going to disable drive A. Now this had that note on it that it was set to drive 9. I don't know if that's true. We're going to find out. Have the VIC 1541 test demo disk. Somebody has helpfully added load how to use "8 return" as well as performance test. Device not present. Wonder if it is 9. it is 9. Our little post-it note was correct. This is device 9. Try a program. The spinning sound does sound a little wonky. I'm going to reset, or reboot rather, and try a commercial game. Don't know if we'll get some complaints because it's drive 9, but we'll see. The game that I've selected is Pitstop 2. Go along with our DeLorean car theme here. Since this is an original game, it will hit some copy protection. This is an original disc that I purchased back in the day, so I know it's been taken care of very well. We'll see. I don't know if it's going to load from 9 though. Try another one. This time I'm just going to pick the first game that's in my little pack of originals, which happens to be Aliens, I think. Yes, Aliens for the C64 and 128. Instead of finding a game that will load from drive 9, I think what I'm going to do is use the disk address change program on the VIC 1541 test demo disk. We're going to set this drive temporarily to 8 and try some commercial games using that drive as 8. Old device 9, new 8. Try a pit stop again in relation to the DeLorean that's parked next to the Ultimate. File not found. Now it is found. Well, it's been a few minutes, and I would have expected to hear more sounds of track seeking, and I recall that this disc had some copy protection that would bang the head a little bit, and I'm not hearing that, so I don't know if this disc is bad or the drive is bad, but it's not progressing. On to the next test, which is actually pit stop. This is not my disc. Somebody has written their score here. I think it says Matt. Matt's score was 49,230. Mom and Dad didn't even try on this one. So actually, when I reset the Ultimate, I'll bet you the drive reset as well. Let's see. It did. air. Nope, this one is not going to work. Things aren't looking good. I don't know if it's because of the soft disc number change or perhaps these discs have seen better days. I have our drive back in our workspace. It's a very bright sunny day here in NTSC land, so ignore the little ray of sunshine that's going to be next to me. I have the top cover off. I have the RF shield off. And the first thing I'm going to do is get underneath this longboard and clean out that drive head. As I said before, when I first cleaned the drive, if there weren't any problems, I was going to leave it alone, but I think there may be some problems reading discs. With this model, you have to take off the board. Later 1541s, the beige models were half size, and you can clean the heads underneath without messing with it. Unfortunately, that's not the case here. So we have some screws to remove. And there's a couple on the side here as well. I've already disconnected the drive light in order to get the shield off. Once again, the red was towards the back. I've got more connectors here. Looks like this one also has red towards the back. Just trying to be careful not to bend these pins. This one we have blue towards the back. Finally, red towards the back. Our Molex power connector here. Now we've got the board off. Oh, one more. This little black wire, red towards the back. There we go. Got the board off. Bottom looks pretty clean. These chips were pretty toasty when I took off the case after running our tests. This power supply gets pretty hot. I've got my foam tip swab so I don't leave any cotton residue on here. Also have the American Recorder S721H cleaning fluid that was initially used for VCRs, but is perfectly fine on disk drives. Our head is down there. It is the white part that's underneath this mechanism here. It doesn't look like I'll need to lift it too high to get to it. You do want to make sure you don't lift it too much because there's a spring in there that you don't want to damage. Looks fairly clean, but looks can be deceiving. Just using gentle pressure. I'm not pressing too hard. Just gently rubbing top of that head. Doesn't look too bad. Not too dusty. Since I'm done with this, I'm just going to lightly run across some surfaces where if there's any dust or debris, I'll just pick it up. I noticed that when I moved this drive head, it was very squeaky. I think the lubricant is gone from those heads. So I am going to clean and re-lubricate it. Just using some isopropyl alcohol. This time I am using a cotton bud because it is a tight squeeze in there, and I don't think this foam swab can get in there. So I'm just going to run the cotton swab along the drive rail. If there's any old lubricant, I want to clean that out. This is what I'm using: Super Lube silicone lubricating grease. Another cotton bud. Just a small amount. Just going to twirl it around, and then I'm just going to move it across in a straight line. Being careful, of course, not to get any on the belt that's right next to this rail. So now I'm just going to move the head back and forth a couple times in order to get the grease spread out. I don't want to knock the head out of alignment, so I'm just moving it by the two black clamps, I guess you want to call them, that are usually on the rail. Just a little excess grease on a couple spots I'm just going to get out. Time to put the board back on. And the last part of what I'm going to do is fixing this so it reads as drive 8 permanently. There are two pads marked J1 and J2 that I need to find. Let's see. Here we go. You can see that the trace in this middle of J1 has been scored, so it's open. So I'm just going to put a small solder blob over that gap to connect it. When I put this board down, it's tilting because of this plate. So it will sit a little bit more flat if it's mounted. So I'm just going to reconnect it. I was trying to put this little flange on the outside. It goes on the inside. That's why it wasn't sitting right. And that's the correct way because it leaves a little gap here that the Molex wires can feed out. It's time to get that little spot fixed. I want to start by saying I'm not an expert at soldering. This should be pretty straightforward. If I can do it, you can do it. We're going to start by getting some flux on that spot that we're going to solder. So I'm going to let soldering iron warm up. I'm just going to put a little dot there across that joint. Okay, I'm at 330. Being careful not to touch anything else. And that's a pretty big blob, but it did the job. Now that trace has been big blobbed, I am going to put the RF shield back on, the top case back on. We'll bring the drive back to the Ultimate, and we'll try those discs again. We're back with the Ultimate. Our VIC 1541 is connected. I'm going to power it on. There we go. Proper power on sequence. Red light came on, went off. If it stayed on, that would be a problem. I'm going to power on the Ultimate. The drive should reset. There we go. I booted to Jiffy DOS. I'm going to leave it on. I do need to check the drive status. Okay, drive A or 8 was active. I'm going to turn that off. And Let's start with Pitstop II, the one that I could not get going. So far, so good. Question is, will it progress? And yes, we have a title screen. So the first time may have been a problem because the game was not programmed to load from drive 9. Then my second attempt, where I soft changed the device to 8, still it didn't like it. It wants to see a drive 8. There we go. Took quite a while, but it did load. We didn't have any drive knocking. I thought that there was some copy protection involved, but there's no driver 2. Did I select a 2-player game? Well, I must have. I'm not going through 5 minutes of load time again to get to a 1-player game. Unless we can get it back this way. Oh, okay. Here, number of drivers. Set that to 1. So the game works fine. Let's try a couple others. See if these copy protected games will give this drive any issues. Marble Madness. And it's continuing. So lesson learned. Soft drive changes aren't the way to go. And if this was any other time, I would have left it at drive 9 because none of my other 1541s are set as drive 9, and it might come in handy. But with the Ultimate, you don't need that. You could have 9, 10, 11 all virtually and only work with one real drive and not have an issue, with imaging, copying, etc. Because I wanted to use this with a VIC-20, really made sense to make sure that it was drive 9, or I'm sorry, change drive 9 to drive 8. Marble Madness is up. This game used to just frustrate the hell out of me back in the day. It was not a very easy game for me. Beachhead. It's our copy protection. Oh, wonder if this is a bad disc. Try it this way. Got a feeling it won't make a difference. Yeah, maybe that isn't copy protection, guys. I think this is a bad disc. Or that head isn't quite reading things right. So instead of going to pole position, I believe there's a disc test on this 1541 test demo. Yeah, insert scratch diskette and drive. I'm gonna grab one real quick. All right, I've got my box of Kodak diskettes, never been used. Obviously wasn't formatted. This new command wait about 80 seconds. Drive pass, mechanical test. I don't like that. During the track 1 write, the head seems to be knocking. Read error, unit is failing. Performance test continue. Well, that's not good. Well, so this drive isn't perfect. It does work for the most part, but it looks like we've got a problem at one end of the drive, track 1. I'm going to have to look into this, see if there's a way to do an alignment. I've never did a realignment on a 1541. It might be something that is beyond my capabilities. I've got the VIC 1541 back in surgery. I did some research as to the track 1 error and failing that disc test, and it was suggested that the belts be replaced. Over time, as these drives sit, the belt becomes deformed and causes the head not to read correctly at that end of the disc. So I've got the cover off and the belt is underneath. I have to get to the bottom of this drive in order to change the belt. We've got some screws here, 3 on each side, and we'll see if that is enough to get access to the bottom. I'm going to take this opportunity to clean this off since it is out. Looks like I'm going to have to take it out of this cage as well. Got 2 side screws here, 2 more there. Does look like I'm going to have to take the board off again, since it is attached to the top of this cage. Just going to lift it up, slide it. So the underside looks clean. We've got our belt, and it's very straightforward. Looks like it'll be very easy to do. Commodore 1541, 1551, Mitsumi Neutronics Alps. So I guess whether or not you have a Neutronics or Alps, it's the same belt. I did find out that the original belts were fabric covered. The fabric covered variety was not in stock, so this is a purely rubber belt, but from what I understand, there should be no problem using it. Something else in here. Oh, it's a piece of candy. Tongue torture. Oh, I'm going to slip the belt off. It's a flat belt, it looks like, so really no issues about how to put it back on. The old belt was kind of tight. And you can see, you know, it is deformed from being in place for however many years. So I imagine it does contribute somewhat to drive problems. Sure enough, this is a fabric belt. It's not stretchy by any means. Here's the new belt. Definitely stretchy. Get it around these spindles. Or pulleys, I should say. Interestingly, these pulleys don't have a flange. So there's nothing to center this belt on this big pulley. The little one does have a flange. So that one is easy to position. I'm going to have to make sure that this one is exactly in the middle. And of course, I'm not going to twist it. The height of the smaller pulley will determine where the belt sits on the big one. So didn't really need to line it up. All right, we're ready to put it back together. To put it back together, I'm just going to reverse my steps. I'm going to make sure that it's oriented correctly. So the belt side down. We'll get our 4 drive rail screws back in. Next, we have our circuit board. And the rest of the connections. Got the bottom of the drive. I'm going to put the drive back in. It's time to get the shield back on. Now time for the top cover. Okay, time to test it out. I'll get this hooked up to the Ultimate and we'll see if that belt did the trick. I've got the 1541 hooked up to the Ultimate. Power on. So far so good. Got the Vic 1541 test demo disc that we had before. Okay, read the directory. We've got our performance test. Okay, time for the scratch disc. So our friendly disc knock for formatting. Okay, it passed the mechanical test. Oh, so now it's knocking. It didn't knock before on the track 1 test. But it should have passed this already. I don't think it's going to pass. I don't think it's going to go any further. Unfortunately, the changing of the belt did not help. The drive still is not 100%. So what I do have is another white 1541, and that one has a board problem. It will just keep its lights on once it's booted. I believe the mechanicals are okay. So what I'm going to do is take the logic board from this drive and swap it with the mechanicals from the other drive. I'm not going to use the transformer from the other drive though, because that could have been the reason why the board on that drive failed. There might have been a power rail failure and fried the board. But chances are the mechanicals are going to be okay. So I'm going to do that quick swap and we'll see what happens. Well, I think the surgery went well and our drive is back on the Ultimate. I did swap the mechanical portion from that other drive that had problems. While I was in there, I did lube the drive rails. And of course, I also took that new drive belt that I just put on that other drive onto the donor drive. I've got the VIC 1541 test demo disc. Okay, we've got the directory loaded okay. Our friend, the performance test. This drive is a lot quieter than the other one, and also the serial number was a lot higher, so this is a newer drive. Got our scratch disc. And I'm going to twiddle our thumbs while it formats. Drive knock, that's fine. Okay, drive pass mechanical test. The right test is in progress. This drive does seem to hum a little bit louder than the other one, but the other one had some squeals from time to time, so I think they're probably about equal as far as sound. Okay, the right portion was fine. Now it's reading the data. Okay, on to deleting that file. Okay, one file scratched. Here we go. 35, 35, and 1. Okay, we're past the problem that we had with the other drive. The mechanics on this one was fine. The unit has passed performance tests. Pull diskette from drive before turning power off. Okay, so let's see how it does with the copy protected game. I do have pole position. Now, I don't know if this will work. This was a game that I had purchased from an estate sale, so I have no idea what the condition is. I have never loaded this disc before. VMAX copy protection, I believe. So I'm not sure if it's failing the copy protection or this disc is bad. Okay, I've got the disc version of Aliens, estate sale pickup. I have not run this before. Looks like somebody's got maybe some action replay codes written on there. Let's see what happens. That's not how you do it. Did hit an error and it's flashing, but I don't know if that is the copy protection. The hum is so loud that I can't hear the stepper motor. There we go. Got some sounds. These numbers must have been the mission status codes, not action replay codes. So it looks like it does work. I'm going to try Pitstop 2 though on the original 1541 that was here, just to make sure it was a bad disk. Or perhaps there was a difference between the older VIC 1541s and the later ones where copy protection didn't recognize them. So let's try that before we finish this video. And just to be complete, let's try pole position. Should get our VMAX screen. See if this progresses. No, it's the same issue. So I'm going to say that this disk does work. My 1541 that I know works 100% did not load pole position and pretty much acted the same way as the VIC 1541. So I think this repair was a success, and I'm going to be using this drive when I unveil a new inbox VIC-20 coming soon. But for now, I hope you have some time this week to reboot and remember the past.